What's going on, guys? B Scott here with you, and on today's show, we got your quarterback sit starts heading in to week number 10. I'm going to go through a lot of the quarterbacks, tell you which ones I like starting this week, which ones I would be sitting, couple surprises, and then obviously some stream options heading in to week number 10. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first four downs. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're going through your quarterback sit starts heading in to week number 10. So this is plain and simple. I like to rattle through a lot of the must-start quarterbacks, give you a couple sit options and a couple stream options heading into the week. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, and then comment. If there's any quarterback I don't mention, go ahead and drop and ask a question, any sit start question for anything related, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my opinion. So let's start with your must-start quarterbacks. Quarterbacks you should be starting anyway. It should be set and forget it. First off, Tom Brady at the Washington football team, giving up, I want to say, the most fantasy points at the quarterback position, and Tom Brady's the number one quarterback in fantasy, so smash spot here. Matthew Stafford, looking to bounce back from a loss to the Tennessee Titans on the road against San Francisco 49ers. Good, tough divisional matchup, but I like Stafford as a start here, so you're firing him. He's been a top 5 quarterback on the season. So Josh Allen here on the road against the New York Jets. Hopefully he's looking to rebound. Last week was an incredible week of football. At the New York Jets this week. Should be a decent spot for Josh Allen to rebound here. Now the Jets, they've played okay, but you saw what the Colts did to him. I mean, really put on 45 points. So I like Josh Allen as a start. You're going to be starting him if you drafted him that high anyway. Lamar Jackson on the road against Miami Dolphins. You're starting him, looking like an MVP frontrunner, playing well and carrying that team, putting him on his back, period, and carrying him to the promised land. So Lamar Jackson, I like him as a start this week. Justin Herbert at home against Minnesota Vikings, coming off a great win against Philadelphia Eagles, played very well, and you got to be starting him here. Minnesota's defense just isn't that good, not all up to par, period. So Justin Herbert, you're starting him. Aaron Rodgers, playing the Seattle Seahawks. If he's active, obviously, you got to watch the health later in the week. If he's active, you got to be starting him. It's a pretty good spot here. On the flip side of that coin, Russell Wilson, looking like he's going to return. I would be starting him against Green Bay Packers, albeit the Green Bay Packers defense played very well in the season so far. Even without Jair Alexander, that secondary's played pretty well, but I like Russell Wilson. You're going to be starting him if you drafted him as your starter, unless you got a crazy better option. Dak Prescott, playing the Atlanta Falcons, should bounce back here. Atlanta's given up the 9th most fantasy points to the quarterback position and hasn't played necessarily particularly well on defense, but they're doing okay. But Dallas is looking to rebound in a big way, so I like Dak Prescott this week. Kyler Murray, playing the Carolina Panthers. Kind of a tough matchup, and barring his health. So don't get me wrong, if you drafted Kyler Murray, you probably don't have a better option. You probably have to roll with him, but it could be tough here, honestly, even at home. Against the Carolina Panthers, that defense has played pretty well, and Kyler's still banged up. So hopefully, maybe they rest him one more week. But if he goes out there and plays, you probably got to start him, but I don't really love it. Carson Wentz, playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got to start Carson Wentz. 2+ touchdowns, 6 straight games, playing very well. And they should easily beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, albeit Jacksonville put together a great show and literally beat the Buffalo Bills. If you're not a fantasy fan, just love your NFL team, it was a great week of football for you because lots of underdogs got the win. So Carson Wentz, you got to be starting against Jacksonville. I still don't believe in that defense. So next guy, Patrick Mahomes. This is tough. 3 straight really duds for Patrick Mahomes. Not something we haven't really seen. But you draft him as your QB1 unless you have a ridiculous option, which you probably don't because you probably don't have another one of these guys that's above him. You got to be firing Patrick Mahomes, playing the Las Vegas Raiders. Played well against him for the most part, but they've been able to get after him in some games. So Patrick Mahomes, you got to be starting him still at this point, I guess. Kirk Cousins at the Los Angeles Chargers, not a good spot. Los Angeles Chargers give it the 5th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. But Kirk Cousins played very well, especially on the road. Multiple touchdown passes in every road game for Kirk Cousins here. I don't really love it, but he's been getting it done, especially on the road. So if you got to fire Kirk Cousins, I understand it is tough, but I still think he'll have a decent day here. So now on to some quarterbacks that I would potentially be sitting this week. I'm going to mention Jalen Hurts as a sit. Crazy to believe, but the last 3 weeks, they've actually started to run the football and run it effectively. And it's really taken the load off Jalen Hurts, but it's really balanced that offense. And I think moving forward, the Philadelphia Eagles are having some success. I mean, they do lose a heartbreaker to Los Angeles Chargers, but they played very well in that game. So at the Denver Broncos, I don't love the matchup. 3rd fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. 3rd fewest touchdowns to the quarterback position, just 11 passing touchdowns through the air. Denver's given up. And Jalen Hurts, just 1 touchdown over his last 2 games because they're running the ball effectively. Now, yes, there could be garbage time, but I don't necessarily believe in Denver Broncos offense to really get way out big in front and there'd be some garbage time for Jalen Hurts, maybe. But I just think it's a little bit of a tough matchup. If you're a guy that drafted Jalen Hurts really late and you happen to have a better quarterback on this list, I would potentially be looking elsewhere. I get it if you start him. His floor is pretty safe with the rushing upside, but the last few weeks, they haven't leaned on him as much. Their team is looking better, but for his fantasy value, it hasn't looked the part. So Jalen Hurts, potential sit for me this week. And then Ryan Tannehill versus the New Orleans Saints. Not a good matchup. New Orleans has been pretty good against quarterback position, albeit Matt Ryan just had over 300 yards against them last week, but they're still good. 10th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. Ryan Tannehill, just 2 games in which he's thrown for more than 1 touchdown. 3 touchdowns, 2 times this year, both against the Indianapolis Colts. So if you're not the Colts, he's probably not going to throw 3 touchdowns. I just don't love the matchup here, Ryan Tannehill. We were hoping to see more, especially against the Rams, knowing that they were without Derrick Henry in that game. So now they played the New Orleans Saints. I just don't know if I love the matchup here. He hasn't cleared 270 passing yards since week number 4. And yes, he does have some rushing upside a little bit, but he hasn't been consistently putting together fantasy viable weeks. So I just don't love him as a start this week. Obviously, you're probably not starting him on any given week, but if you had to take a chance, I would be looking elsewhere other than Ryan Tannehill. And then some stream options. I got a few guys. Derek Carr, I'll be streaming this week against Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs give up second most fantasy points to the quarterback position. 3 touchdowns in both games against Kansas City Chiefs last year, Derek Carr had. And Derek Carr's played very well, averaging 320 yards per game, albeit coming off a letdown against the New York Giants. But I like it here at home against these Kansas City Chiefs. That defense, especially the secondary, has really struggled. So Derek Carr, a good streaming option this week. And then Matt Ryan at the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas giving up 7th most fantasy points to the quarterback position. There could be garbage time here viable if Dallas Cowboys really put it on the Atlanta Falcons and get up in this game. Even Matt Ryan could potentially have some garbage time. So I like him as a potential start here. On the road, Matt Ryan's got 2 touchdowns in every single game, averaging 305 yards per game passing on the road this year for Matt Ryan. So I like him as a potential stream option this week. And this game just smells shootout to me. Plain and simple. The Atlanta Falcons and the Dallas Cowboys could be a complete shootout here. So that's it. That's my quarterback sit start streams heading in to week number 10. So if you have any questions of quarterback I didn't mention, because I didn't mention all of them, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice. Sit start questions, who to start, vice versa. Any questions related to fantasy football, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my advice. And while you're there, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell for all your fantasy football information all season long. I put out all the start sits for each position. You can ask any questions. We got the matchup videos. We got everything you could possibly want. And if you have any questions, just drop in the comment section. So for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott.